Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric here with Iraq Veteran 8888. We got some more 2A news for you here today, and this one comes out of our friends at Ammo Land, and this is written by our good friend, Mr. John Crump, which you know, he and I are great friends, and he's been a guest on the channel before. He does a heck of a lot of writing over at Ammo Land, and his articles are fantastic, and I'd like to share this particular one with you. I really like his take on stuff, and I like to kind of add a few of my little nuanced views in there and everything. This one's entitled, Steve Dettelbach Confirmed as Biden's ATF Director, and this is as of July 13th, 2022. Again, ammoland.com by John Crump, and we're going to get into this particular one and have a look at it, and I'll get this read going. Before we get started, I would like to thank our friends at Firearms Legal Protection for supporting our videos. If you're ever involved in a legal shooting, it's probably one of the scariest things that you're ever going to be involved in. Just because you survived the shooting doesn't mean that you're going to survive the legal battle that's going to ensue after the fact, right? They are scary situations, and sometimes, you don't know where to go, you don't know what to do. Firearms legal protection is kind of like an insurance policy for your freedom when it comes to protecting yourself with a firearm. They've got a team of lawyers that'll come to your aid and help you out. The best way to think about it is kind of like prepaid legal. It's a great way to make sure you're covered if you're involved in a shooting. If you use the code IV8888, you can save yourself a considerable amount of money on some of their packages. Consider checking it out. I mean, in this society we live in, things are scary. You never know if you're going to have to defend yourself with a firearm, and it's good to know that the folks at FLP have your back. So check them out. Tell them we sent you, and let me know what you think about their services. Really good group of people. And you can check out the link in the description box below if you want to learn more. And remember to use the code IV8888 so you get yourself a nice little discount. Stephen Dettelbach. The Dettelbach nomination was President Joe Biden's second choice for ATF director. His first choice was rabid anti-gun advocate David Chipman. Chipman worked for several anti-gun groups and was seen as too extreme by most of the U.S. Senate. That's pretty telling right there, isn't it? Two Republicans, Susan Collins and Rob Portman, crossed the aisle to vote to confirm Dettelbach, who was confirmed by a margin of 48 to 46. Dettelbach's former career as the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Ohio was uneventful regarding firearms-related cases. After his time in the U.S. Attorney's Office, he took a job at Baker Holstetler on the White-Collar Defense and Corporate Investigations team. He has no official record on firearms when working for Baker Holstetler. Even though Dettelbach doesn't have any official record on gun control, he has spoken about several of his beliefs. Dettelbach believes in banning most semi-automatic rifles, which he calls assault weapons. He would like to see the Clinton-era assault weapons ban return with an expanded definition of an assault weapon. Dettelbach also believes in universal background checks for firearms purchases. He believes the practice of private transfers would end. In many states, a firearm can be transferred through a private sale without the buyer going through a background check. Dittelbach would insist that all transfers be done through a federal firearms license holder. And this is pretty disturbing. One thing about Chipman's confirmation that we were all just so adamant about opposing, right, is the fact that he had worked with a known anti-gun activist group. And when you've got a group of people like the ATF who, you see through the use of Chevron deference and all of these random rulemaking, sort of edicts, if you will, that they come up with that carry the weight of law, that carry the weight of death and or imprisonment, right? I mean, we're talking, this isn't just a slap on the wrist. I mean, if they really want to do something terrible to you, I mean, you've seen the things that the ATF has done to people in the past. And, Chevron deference was never really intended to be used in a way that, when something carries such a terrible and gross consequence, and everything. So, without getting too far off on that particular tangent, it's just important to mention that, David Chipman's confirmation was opposed by many, many people. And we were very hot and heavy on David Chipman. We made a lot of videos about it. And get this, I shared a Facebook post. I'm not going to shut up about this. I want people to know this, okay? I shared a Facebook post on my Facebook page of over 820,000 followers, right? And it ended up getting about 750,000 hits. All right, it was an article about David Chipman and his previous advocacy related to the anti-gun groups, right? So when you've got a position like the ATF director as being such an important position in terms of, let's say whether or not you view it as important or pertinent or whatever, that's still a position that's got a fair amount of power. I mean, you're talking someone who is controlling the reins of 5,000 people that could just basically be a rolling death squad and do whatever they want to people. And that's dangerous, right? And you don't want someone who's just blatantly anti-gun being at the charge of you can see where the abuse of that position could quickly surface when someone clearly has a political agenda. Now, Dettelbach seems to have a very similar agenda, so we'll see how this ends up going. I mean, it's official now, so I guess the anti-gunners can consider that some form of a little minor victory. But at the end of the day, when we see what happened with the Bruin case, there's a lot of these little rule changes and this just rulemaking that just comes out of thin air that's going to be challenged in the lower courts and sent back to the lower courts. So it's going to be really interesting to see what type of actual, real ability they have to do anything moving forward anyway, regardless of who is the director of the ATF. It could be Mickey Mouse or Ronald McDonald or anybody. It doesn't matter who's in charge of the ATF if, in fact, their reins are being pulled back on with the legal system, and they actually have to go through Congress, and anything they want to change or do different actually needs to go through the congressional process and become law. Wow, checks and balances like this country is designed to operate under. Most disturbingly for gun owners, Dettelbach believes in a firearms registry. Earlier this year, the ATF admitted to having nearly 1 billion records at its out-of-business office in Martinsburg, West Virginia. When an FFL goes out of business, the FFL must turn over all the records for the past 20 years to the ATF. This will be expanded to all records, even though over 20 years old, in the new rules surrounding the definition of a firearm. That regulation is going into effect in late August of this year. Over a year ago, when AmmoLand News was investigating Walmart turning over records of gun sales to the ATF, we uncovered that the ATF was using optical character recognition to digitize the records. A year later, Gun Owners of America verified this claim and determined that just under 700 million records have been digitized, with the ATF hard at work to get 1 billion records it holds scanned. You guys remember when Canada had their long gun registry, and they were trying to do a long gun registry, and they wound up determining that it was such a logistical nightmare, and it was so expensive for them to even attempt to have a registry for long guns, they wound up doing away with the long gun registry. Imagine the fiscal irresponsibility that this has as well. Not only the murky constitutional waters, but the fiscal irresponsibility too. Not good. The ATF calls this a searchable database and claims the names field is not searchable. Yeah, okay. Yeah, like we believe that. Although this claim is technically true, the search function in the field is just disabled. Yeah, I'm sure they'll just, click the name field and enable the name field if they want. AmmoLand News determined that this function could be turned on in under 10 seconds with 3 clicks of a mouse. Many gun rights advocates consider this a firearms registry. Since Dettelbach believes in a registry, many gun rights activists worry about how the new director will abuse the system. Anti-gun groups celebrated the confirmation. Brady and others expressed remarks and statements of support. The importance of a Senate-confirmed director cannot be overstated, Brown Chris, Brady United president, said, saying ATF is important to enforcing the nation's gun laws and reducing gun trafficking and the supply of firearms that are fueling our nation's gun violence crisis. Gun rights groups have also taken to social media to decry the situation. They see Dettelbach as nothing more than a puppet of Biden's anti-gun agenda. Boy, that's true. That's a loaded statement. That's absolutely a fact. I mean, think about it. How long's it been since an ATF director has been confirmed? Quite a while, right? What, almost 2 decades? So any time that a position is created within the government, you can't help but wonder that there's some form of, reasoning behind it, or there's some agenda at play that they need that position to be there for, right? So that's just something to consider, right? I mean, look at all of these, random, woke positions that the Biden administration is creating, right? With all, for what reason? Just to fill the political sails full of all the wind that they want to blow them in any direction they want. Politicians are showing what they really think of the Second Amendment, said Aiden Johnson, Director of Federal Affairs for Gun Owners of America. Confirming an anti-gunner to lead an agency that works to restrict rights by creating a national gun registry and banning certain firearms is a disgrace to our constitutional government. Dettelbach claims he will not let politics seep into his role as ATF director, but only time will tell. And, and of course, John Crump, great article. That's true, right? Okay, so if the man is saying that he's not going to let politics seep into the cracks of this organization and into his role, fine. Give the man a chance to do what he says he's going to do. If he says he's not going to let politics get in the way, that's fine. But here's the thing. He said what he said, and he means what he says. And you can only assume that if the man says he supports XYZ in terms of everything we just discussed, well then, how could it not seep into the organization? If that's the, let's just say the platform that he wanted to, be confirmed under, and then they confirmed him under that platform, then they're probably going to expect him to uphold exactly the ideals that he holds true. Now, the big question at hand, I suppose, is in the long term, I guess time will tell if our constitutional republic will hold true and our checks and balances will actually be upheld and adhered to, and this Chevron deference and all of this random rogue rulemaking and all of that, if all of that stuff will go the way of the dodo, and if these people want what they're actually saying they want to do to happen, then they're going to have to go through the Congress, and they're going to have to get in there and roll their sleeves up and do things the correct way and have everything pass through the houses of Congress. Now, with the midterms looming, there are many, many people who believe that a red wave is certainly nigh upon us, and there's a lot of pissed off people, and I'm not going to go too far down that rabbit hole about elections and everything, but let's just say that the overall consensus is that there's a lot of people that think that we're going to take back the House and the Senate, and a red wave, if you will. I know that's a very overused term. And look, to be fair, I'm not a rank and file Republican, okay? I mean, I try to be very fair, and I try to support people that are good when they deserve it, and hold the feet to the fire of the people that deserve to have their feet held to the fire, no matter what banner they fly under or no matter what letters next to their name. I believe in universal freedom. I believe in people being responsible and happy and functional members of society and having the maximum amount of freedom that we can bestow on people. I'm all about that. So, I'm not a rank and file Republican. However, if we do get this red wave that they're talking about, don't think that we're out of the water. I mean, we've got a lot of rhino Republicans out there that have voted for gun control. We see that in the recent shakedown that occurred with this last bill that was put forth, which Chad and I still need to make a gun gripe on it. We will. But wanted to share this article about Dettelbach's confirmation. Unfortunately, I don't think there was a lot that could have avoided it. And again, we see the rhinos. We have to thank the rhinos for this. Of course, it's always the Republicans, that break file and go over to the other side and try to, side with tyranny. So we have to, make sure, okay, yeah, red wave, all good and fine. If you think that's good and fine, great. But at the end of the day, make sure that you're holding their feet to the fire and holding them accountable for what they say they're going to do. And make sure that you're really watching their voting records and you're being real wise on who you vote for, and make sure, call them, tell them, hey, this is a one issue item for me, and this is very important to me. So wanted to just take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters. Also, go over to Ballistic Inc. and pick yourself up a snazzy new t-shirt, kind of like the one I've got on, and we've got many others. Matt and Lisa are doing a wonderful job coming up with some awesome designs, and we're printing shirts like crazy, and I really appreciate the support. So if you want to support the channel directly, that's one of the most direct ways you can do so. Head over to Ballistic Inc. and pick yourself up some awesome merch. You can order these shirts with and without the flag. I know some people don't want the flag on the sleeve. That's fine. Put it in the comment section. If you don't want the flag, we don't have to put it on there. You can order it both ways. It's like the Burger King of t-shirts. You can have it your way. All right, so have yourselves a great day. Many more videos on the way. We'll see you soon.